right, well, welcome everyone to our celebration of OSHA Safe and Sound Week. I'm Katie Spika, the CEO of Spika Design and Manufacturing, and with me are Tom Spika and Becky Spika, and I'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Tom Spika. I'm the founder of the company, started 20 years ago, currently hold the position of the Chief Innovation Officer.
And I'm Becky Spika. I'm currently the Director of Sales, but I've also served in the marketing role as well as our company safety officer.
Wonderful. So we are excited to talk to you guys today about some of the lessons we've learned about working safely at heights. We wanted to thank John Olachea from OSHA for inviting us to do this. And if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to just put them in the chat window and we'll answer them all at the end. We're going to cover 3 of the key challenges our clients have brought to us over our past 20 years, starting with the question of, I have a place I have to access, some upper level access point that is just really challenging to get to, and I feel that there is no way to do it safely. What have you guys found as an answer to clients that come to us with that challenge?
We get a ton of calls about this, and oftentimes what they're using is a ladder or something like a Cotterman stand or a Ballymore stand that has been manufactured and just purchased off the shelf, but it's really trying to fit a very specific access need that isn't easy to get to. So if we go to the next slide, it shows an example of a system that we designed for an access point that was basically tucked inside an electrical box. It was a heavy equipment manufacturer that was performing some wiring inside their equipment. And they had this box, so you can see on the end there's a cantilever. They needed a system to cantilever into the electrical box so it would hover over the wiring. They would be able to not only extend into the box, but also height adjust, I believe from about 4 feet up to 9 feet. So they were trying to accomplish this with things just like a ladder. And obviously, if you're doing this type of work with a ladder, you're going to be overreaching, extending way beyond what you should be with a standard safe practice. And so they came to us with this need. And I think, Tom, you were the one that led the design on this. So perhaps you could give a little bit more thoughts about how you approached this particular issue.
Yeah, this was kind of a fun project. It was a little bit of a challenging one because, like you say, they had a very specific area that they needed to access. Very narrow, for one thing. It had to fit within this enclosure, but it also had to extend into it a ways. And it needed to be at variable heights. Excuse me. So we designed this that allowed them to actually walk up an initial set of stairs onto a landing, and then while on that landing, adjust their height to the particular level they needed to be doing the work that they were doing within that enclosure. This one here, because of that, utilized electric actuators to adjust the height up and down, and they wanted some preset points that they could just hit a button and it would go to that particular level, and then hit another one and it would go up to the next. So it had a user interface screen that they could enter in the value they wanted to go up, and worked really well. But again, this is a very special application. You're not going to find anything off the shelf that's really going to allow you to get into an area like that. And so it's when you have situations like this, you really need to go to a firm that has the capability to take down all of the information of what you're doing there, how you're getting there currently, what you need to have to be able to do your task, and have a design team that really knows how to create a system that's going to work very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the next slide also shows another system that was really challenging because they had very narrow alley or aisle that they had to fit within to perform access on a server farm, some maintenance inside a server farm. So what they were looking at is if they were trying to access the height that they needed, they were using ladders. Again, not ideal, but they didn't know what other option they had because it was such a narrow space. So this one was designed, as you can see, to be very, very skinny. It has height adjustability, and this system also required to be fit through a doorway. That's a common challenge that people face when they are trying to buy a piece of access equipment that needs to be able to transport throughout the facility. It needs to oftentimes go through doors that aren't as tall as they need the access to be. So this one was able to compress down, kind of tuck itself inside, to be able to fit under the door and then extend when they needed it to. And Tom, you maybe have more to add to how we accommodated this type of really special access need.
Yeah, again, this is the customer came to us believing there probably wasn't a way to get what they needed. As you can see how narrow this was, the aisles that it rolls down are extremely narrow. They have a grid of unistrut that's above this area that the stand is in, and it has to be able to reach up through that grid to fit up to the level they needed to be. And then to top that off, they needed to actually lean over the equipment that they were positioned next to and access some components on the wall back behind it. So it was really a challenging place for them to try to access, and they hadn't found any way that they could actually do it safely and efficiently. And so we designed this system here that out of necessity has to have quite a bit of counterbalance weight in the bottom. So when they do lean out and fold that one of those railing out at the top to an angle, they're leaning over and putting quite a bit of weight off center. So it had to have weight in the base. Because of that, it weighed about 2,200 pounds, which you could move with two people, but it was a little more difficult. So we actually put a driving assist caster on it that was electric, that you just hit a button and it will actually move itself down the aisle. So again, there was a lot of requirements with this, and we were able to design something that was going to really get them where they needed to be in a way that they couldn't any other way. And again, this is one of those that takes a design team that really understands how to make a platform that's going to work, understands the requirements that OSHA is going to have there, and understands the ergonomics of things and the usability of it. The users need to be able to use these things without a lot of difficulty, a lot of physical stress, and simplicity. So this was kind of a cool little system.
Great. So to me, it sounds like you guys are saying it may seem impossible, but nothing's impossible. Safety's not impossible if you think creatively, and the designs today make even the most challenging access able to be performed and done with OSHA's safety first.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, a lot of these people think of platforms as being pretty simple. I mean, it's just a stand that you get up on, walk on it. But a lot of these applications, it takes a lot of engineering and a lot of analysis, computer analysis, to know, where are your tip points and how much can this actually support in that configuration. So it can get pretty in-depth into the engineering side, but we can actually get to places that don't look like they're very possible to access. And the main thing, of course, you want to meet OSHA compliance, but you want to really have a safe environment for your workers. That's first and foremost. You don't want anybody getting hurt. So these challenging ones, you can do that.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to the second common challenge our clients bring to us, which is that they're working on top of something, maybe a helicopter or fixed wing aircraft, maybe it's some vehicle, and they're using fall arrest systems or fall restraint systems and just don't find them very convenient. And they're looking for a different option. What kind of options are there in the industry?
Yeah, this is a widely common question that we get. They want freedom of movement, but the lanyard system they're using just isn't really providing that impracticality for them. We had a client call us up one day that was trying to perform maintenance around some rotor blades, and he was using a harness system. The only OSHA-approved way to utilize a harness system around these blades was to climb up and over each blade every time you needed to move around the rotor blades. So typically, a more practical, or what one person would probably do as a shortcut, would be to unhook themselves, duck under the blade and rehook. But that's not OSHA approved, right? So in practicality, they didn't have as much freedom of movement as they would have liked. So we get this question all the time: how can I get away from this lanyard system and provide something for my team that allows them to move freely without having to worry about falling off the edge? So Tom, what are your thoughts on this? And the picture that we're looking at right now is probably where you'll start with how do we provide people the safe access they need when working at heights, especially over 4 feet?
Yeah, this one that's shown is a very basic standard system, and we do have a lot of applications for these. Our customers oftentimes are working on the top of a wing, maybe on an aircraft, or the top of the aircraft itself, top of a helicopter or something. Also, they may be working on building or maintaining a semi-truck trailer or tanker or rail car or something like that. So you've got these, matter of fact, this one I think was designed that we're looking at for manufacturing buses. So you have instances where you're working both on the sides of something that's tall and on top. And so to be able to create a system that elevates from your lower levels, you need to be clear up to where it's flush with the top of the system. It will totally encompass what you're working on and provide a perimeter of fall protection. So you can actually stand on the rails beside, or on the platforms beside it, or you can be standing on top and know that if you happen to fall, you're not going to come clear off of it. You'll notice the front and rear of them have the crossover rails that allow you to protect the ends. When you put one on each side, you have to blank off the ends of them. And so those can actually be designed, of course, adjustable, where they'll fit different widths of products, but you can build toe boards into them as well. You can do different things with them. They can actually be shaped to fit the concave or the contour of the item that you're working on, like if you're on a railroad car or something that has kind of a dome top. This is a picture here of one of them against, this is actually top of a helicopter. It'd be hard to tell it, but this is what they call a servo deck on a UH-60. And you can see how the sliders on the platforms allow it to conform to the contour of the aircraft and accommodate any kind of protrusions that are sticking out there. So it allows you to really get a full, complete protection and walk on top of that item very safely. Kate, did you have?
I think we have one more example on this one, if we could advance to perfect. Yes.
Yeah, this is a system that is very unique in that it provides just a rail for an existing walkway on top of something. There are times you'll have a piece of equipment or a machine or a vehicle even, that you have a walkway on top. You don't need any kind of a work deck, but that you need something that can keep it from falling off of there, keep the workers safe on top. So this is basically what we call a stanchion, and it's a self-supporting rail. It's weighted at the base, so it gives it enough strength that you can keep from tipping it over if you do fall into it. And again, this is, you got to engineer these things and know that they're going to have the strength, they're not going to move or tip. But when you have limited space, this actually is designed where the casters pass underneath what you're accessing, and then it actually spans over some obstacles there. So it's designed specifically to meet that unique need. But it provides the compliant railing up there that they can trip and fall off of their walkway and fall into that railing, and they're not going to come down. So it's kind of a unique system that is less expensive and takes up less of a footprint and gets the job done.
Sure. So we found a lot of times that there are plenty of alternatives to fall arrest and fall restraint systems, even in really weirdly shaped, really height limiting situations. So there's almost always an alternative that will work and give you that freedom of movement you're looking for in full OSHA protection. The last challenge that we were going to cover today is people who do want to use the work platform, but they're worried about having to move it around if they want to use it in different locations, or maybe they need to store it when it's not in use and they just don't want to deal with something heavy and awkward, and they don't want people getting hurt trying to deal with their systems. What are our solutions, or what industry solutions are there for that concern?
Yeah, that's a great point. With an access system, it's not just fall protection that you're providing, but also when you do have to move it around the facility, making sure that your team isn't straining themselves having to move it. That's sort of a hidden risk that you have if you don't have the proper access equipment for the need that you have. So I'd say it's easily the most common question we get is how easy is this system to move? Most people, if they have experience with platform systems, they probably were using something that was made of steel. Oftentimes it was something that was just built in-house, sort of built on the fly because they needed something ASAP. And so the perception is that platform systems or safety stands are going to be heavy and clunky to move. So Tom, I know when you founded the company, you saw all these inadequacies that existed within the industry about how challenging it was to move the platform systems. Can you talk a little bit about that and the intention that you had to change that perception when you entered the work platform industry?
Yeah, I had identified the casters as actually being a really key component. When I talked to the users out there, there was a lot of dissatisfaction. They found they were working on their platforms more than they were using them because mostly of caster issues. And I believed at the time, and I still do, that the last place you want to scrimp is on your casters. And this is a very unique one. We've tried a lot of different ones over the years, and we've settled on this as being the best caster that we can use for the application. A number of things that makes it good is it's a highly sealed bearings on both the wheel and on the kingpin of the caster to where it swivels. There's seals will keep out any debris, so that keeps moving smoothly for the lifetime of the caster. But you'll notice also it's unique in that it's got two separate wheels back to back within that caster. This is what we call a split disc or a dual disc caster. And it's not intuitive, but if you were to try and move that platform right now 90 degrees to the way the caster's setting, if you look real close at it, one of those discs is going to rotate clockwise and the other one counterclockwise until it becomes straight and aligned with the direction of movement. Again, it's not intuitive, but if that's not a dual disc, what you're actually doing is scooting that. It's not rotating at all, but it's scooting itself to try and align. And that, of course, takes extra force to move something if the wheel isn't rolling. So with this here, where it actually has the ability to rotate both directions about that axis of swivel rotation, you can reduce what we found as the force required to initiate movement by 35 to 50%, which is really a lot. So you couple something like this of the really well-designed casters specific for this type of a product with the light weight that you get from aluminum, and you find that it's extremely easy to move these. Very often one person can move it around easily, but being able to steer it in, typically, you get one on each end. But do we have kind of a video that shows one of us moving them? I guess, yeah, this is it here. It's pretty evident that, with one guy in a fairly large platform, you can actually position them by yourself very well. I mean, this is not a small platform that he's working with there, and you can see that it just it doesn't take anything to get them started and moving and positioned around. So, it's the concern that a big platform is going to need to have a lot of people there to move it, or it's got to have powered casters or something to be able to get it in place. That's just not right. They're extremely easy to move if they're designed well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into questions from the audience. Go ahead and throw any more up there if you have them, but let me just jump right into the first one. The blades of my helicopter run into railing. Is there a safe alternative to just removing the rails?
Yeah, so we get this a lot as well. Oftentimes when you're trying to access something, it's not going to be perfectly flat. There's going to be contours or there's going to be protrusions towards you. You'll need to access something that's lower. In this instance, if you're performing aircraft maintenance, the blades will droop a little bit and they're actually going to touch the railing that's sitting at the 42-inch tall OSHA requirement. So you have a few options on the market. One is to remove the railing entirely. That's really not advised if you don't have to do it, because then you do have a gap on your platform, and that's not going to be safe. So there are telescopic railings that can actually lower down to just accommodate that overhead obstacle enough to keep you safe and maintain the protection, passive fall protection with that guardrail system, while also allowing your equipment to fall in the way it does and to accommodate around it. So I would say if you have a piece of equipment that needs something special like that, you can certainly look at removable railings if there is something that protects that part of the platform, so there is still some type of fall protection when the railing is gone. Railings that lower down, railings that extend out is another great thing. So something that has some type of dynamic component, there's a lot of options out there for you.
Thanks, Beck. The second question is, do you need a tie-off systems on a work platform?
Yeah, I'll take that one. You don't. If the platform is designed right, it doesn't matter how high up you are or how you're using it, you are safe and compliant within that platform. So we've had customers wonder, well, do I still need to have a lanyard when I'm working up at this height? No, you don't. And that's really a huge factor, because as we know, the fall arrest systems just really make for an inefficient operation, and people don't like using them. So if nobody's looking, they don't. But within the platforms, as long as you have your railing in place, you have safety gates where you need it, you're totally compliant and you are safe.
Great. Let's see. Can stairs be designed to adjust in height? So the platforms do. Can stairs do that also?
For sure. The staircase and the deck can have height adjustability that's actually linked, so they can raise and lower together. Or if you have a stair module that's used independently, it absolutely can, and it can still maintain OSHA compliance of having equal step intervals at any height configuration. So it articulates in a way that everything maintains uniformity.
Perfect.
I can't add to that. She knows what she's talking about.
All right, looks like we just have one more. How much weight can a platform support?
I can take that too from the design side. How much do you need is what the answer is there. A platform is designed from the very beginning around the load requirement that you have. Some of the small ones, they only have one person in there, and they'll, we typically figure, I think 300 pounds is a conservative estimate, and tools with you, parts, whatever, all that's taken into account. But on some of these others, you may have several people on it. You may have a toolbox mounted up there. You may have, at times you'll have a crane or some sort of a lifting apparatus. So we design to what the requirement is, but OSHA requires that we design with a 4-time safety margin. So if we say that the platform is rated at 1,000 pounds working load rating, that means that we have engineered it and tested it to 4,000 pounds, that it will not fail at that. So you don't have to worry if it's 1,000 pounds and you have one extra guy walks up there, it's going to fail. It has a very ample safety margin. And again, that's dictated by OSHA. But we find a lot of the ones out in the field that are older, especially, they don't comply to that, and they're still in use. And, it's, I think it's ones that people don't realize that they're out of compliance on. But, and a lot of the in-house built ones don't realize it has to be designed to that. So it's good to know what the OSHA regulations are if you're going to be building your own.
Wonderful. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions, so we're going to go ahead and close. I just want to thank you guys for joining us. We know that safety of your team is the most important thing to you, and the main message we wanted to get across today with the Safe and Sound Week is that safety can always be accomplished. No matter how challenging it looks, you can always have upper level access for maintenance, manufacturing, whatever you're trying to do. If you need to get up there, you can get up there safely. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to give you more information on OSHA requirements for platforms, or just some of the other options out there in the industry right now. And
Yeah,
go ahead and contact us at the information below.
I would certainly encourage you to call us, because I'm available a lot from the design side. I can walk with you through what we can do and understand your requirements. We've got a full design team that does this every day that helps you to determine what the right product is for your need. Becky is extremely, and her sales team, extremely knowledgeable about what we can do and how we typically handle situations. So yeah, email us at that email address. That comes to a number of us. Call the number there. We certainly like to talk to you. If you want, you can talk. You can look behind me here. That's my 46 Studebaker convertible pickup. We'll talk about that too if you want. It's kind of a neat vehicle that I've got there. So we're a company that I think you'll enjoy working with and interacting with, and we look forward to trying to help solve your problems the best way possible.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a safe week.